Hello, hello, hello. Greetings and welcome to another show of Black Mental Health Matters. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our viewers tapping into this week's show. Black Mental Health Matters is a conversational platform where we deepen our learning about mental health challenges that are impacting the global Black community. My name is Rhyana Ebanks-Babb, and I am your host for today. And we'll be delving into the discussion about journaling for wellness. So make sure you stay tuned, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back in a moment with our lovely panel. So see you soon. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. For those of you that may have missed that short introduction there, my name is Rhyana Ebanks-Babb, and I am your host for this week's Black Mental Health Matters. This week's topic is one that I've personally been waiting for such a long time, and I can't wait to delve into discussion with our wonderful, wonderful guests. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you our first guest, who is Terri Floyd, and Terri is a behavioral scientist. Welcome, Terri, to the Black Mental Health Matters stage. How are you doing?
I am good. How about you, Rihanna?
I'm doing amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much. So, Terri, please introduce yourself to the guests and the viewers and let them know who you are, what you do, and why you're here on this show today.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Terri Floyd. As Rihanna stated, I am a behavioral scientist and founder of the Know to Thrive Collaborative, that is a coaching and consulting business where our mission is to heal well through collaboration. Also, a little bit about the behavioral scientist. I provide mindset and journal coaching, as well as therapeutic art coaching and just any type of holistic approach to help others as well as myself, because I'm also my first client as well, heal
Yes.
well through collaboration. And I'm excited to be a part of this show today because journaling is a passion that I love.
Mm.
And I was excited to be on board to have this discussion to highlight the importance of journaling, the benefits of journaling for our wellness.
Yes, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Terry, for that lovely introduction. And bear with me while I introduce our next guest. So we have also Lianne Crawford, and Lianne is a holistic therapist. Welcome to the Black Mental Health Matters stage, Lianne.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And just like Terry, please introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you do, and what brought you to this platform today.
Sure. Well, my name is Lianne. I'm a holistic alternative therapist. My background was originally in psychology, where I worked directly with children with special needs, particularly autism. During that time was when I realized that it wasn't really the role that I wanted to go down. I always wanted to help people, be of support. Um, So now I am here as a holistic therapist. I help people using tools such as meditation, guided meditation, journal therapy, and yeah, holding space. I'm a space.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here as well. So, viewers, as you can see, we've got an abundance of knowledge in the room, and I can't wait to delve into discussion. And just to kind of highlight, journaling has been something that I've really wanted to cover on this show because I can really understand the benefits that it's had for my own mental health and well-being, let alone the potential that it has for others that want to engage in a journaling practice. And I'll say specifically for Black communities because journaling has so many undiscovered benefits that we're going to delve into today that I think really can help with unleashing a lot of trauma, unleashing a lot of subjugated feelings that we suppress a lot of the time. But yeah, I'm not going to ramble on. I'm just going to delve right into it because, yeah, we've got some really great questions coming up for you. So I'm just going to throw out the first question to you. Whoever wants to answer first, feel free. But what is journaling and why do people journal? And I think it's really important for us to kind of hash this out to frame the conversation. So, what is journaling and why do people journal?
Um, well, I don't mind going first with this one.
Go
I
ahead.
think that is most basic. The most basic journaling is just taking our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas, whatever is on it with inside of us, and allowing it to just come out freely on paper. So writing through words.
Mm,
Sometimes some people may use art, therapy,
mhm,
drawing pictures, doodling, scribbling, but it's really about yeah, taking out our inner world and giving it space, giving it life on paper.
oh, I like that. Taking
That
our inner world.
I like that.
Mhm,
And just to kind of add on what Lianne stated, in which she really just explained it perfectly, just simply writing down your thoughts, feelings to kind of understand more clearly, like she said, to bring life onto the paper, as
mhm,
well as I would say the people that I've worked with, as well as personal experience myself, as to why I journal, is to
mm,
help reduce stress, to release. A lot of times we have a lot of thoughts that are going on in our head and
mhm,
seems cluttered because it's there. But when you write it out, and even if it's bullet points, that
mhm,
helps to like kind of gain that clarity and to declutter your mind. So
mm.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And Leanne, why do you journal?
Journaling has been, I would say journal is my best companion. I
Mm,
journal for the same reasons: to release, to let go, to create
mhm,
space. I journal for creativity reasons as well. But
mhm,
really, for me, it's my space where I go. It's like I said, a blank page it's like a sacred space to put what I need to get out onto paper. You know.
yes. Yes. I like that. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I think it's really important for us to define what journaling is because it is very different to, say, keeping a diary or journal therapy in itself. So that's going to be my next question. How do you know what the difference is between keeping a diary, journaling, and journal therapy? And I'm going to direct this question first of all to Leanne because I know you've mentioned about journal therapy.
Mhm.
So what is the difference between journal therapy, everyday journaling or typical journaling, and keeping a diary? What is the difference?
I would say I'll start with keeping a diary. Keeping a diary
Mhm,
is mostly connected to just keeping a record of the events of the day, what has happened or what has occurred in that
mhm,
day, maybe some thoughts and feelings. Um, I think when we start to add our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts, that's when we kind of get onto the journaling part. Anything reflective,
mm,
what I think about what happened that day or how I felt about what happened that day. Um,
mm,
and with journal therapy, when we start to move towards using journal as a therapeutic tool, one of the key elements that makes journal therapy a therapeutic tool is the reflective part, the reading back over what we have written, analyzing our words, looking for or identifying patterns. So really, when we
mm,
go back into our writing, go back into our words, that's when the process becomes very therapeutic. I mean, just writing itself is therapeutic, to the energy and what's inside. And with journal therapy, we can go into that with a bit more structure. With journaling, it's very freeform. I mean, with journal therapy, we're encouraged to write freely and expressively, but that could be in regards to an intention, some or a particular topic that we might want to address, or a particular prompt or thing. So there might be slightly more structure and a bit more support with journal therapy as well. Hopefully, we have somebody there who can support us in our reflections and analysis of our words.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Lianne. Terry, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't. She covered it and spot on. I definitely agree with how she broke down the diary of recording specific events, as well as the journaling is to, like she said, reflective and kind of develop the sense of self. So getting the awareness and insight.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we've kind of scoped out what journaling is, why people journal, and the differences between keeping a diary, journaling, and journal therapy. Let's kind of delve into some of the benefits. So, from your perspective, Terry, what are some of the benefits that journaling can have on someone's mental, emotional, spiritual, or even intellectual well-being?
Um, I would say, especially thinking about with previous clients as well as guests that I've had working with my journal workshops, a lot of the times that I would hear kind of when I would ask for feedback and looking at the surveys, a lot of them said that the benefits of journaling, it was to help them feel less alone, to recognize sometimes if there's anger or things that's traumatic or how they're feeling in that moment and writing it out, for them to pay attention and see kind of those signs, or even going back to what they wrote a couple of days later, like I was really angry or upset or in that space, as well as to get out of my head. So a lot of times, like I kind of mentioned earlier, where we're in our head a lot of times, and in the benefit of journaling, when you can write it out, when you can have those reflective moments to kind of release it and put it out there, to release anxiety and be able to see the bigger picture. There's some other things that they kind of shared and highlighted, as well as capture the moment that I seen or heard from them when it comes to the benefits. And just even thinking about with myself, those benefits to release that anxiety, to get those thoughts out of my head, or if I'm ready to lay down for the night and I'm like, my mind is steady going and it's just constantly thinking about certain things. At least when I wrote it out, those benefits to help me to kind of release that so I could rest my mind and rest my brain. So
Thank you. I appreciate that because I think a lot of the time people um, turn to journaling when they are at some of the most difficult points in their life. And I think something also to highlight is the fact that you can journal for aspirational purposes as well.
mhm, mhm.
So, Leanne, from your perspective, what other benefits can you draw on that you can share with our audience?
Um, I think one of the most profound things that I witnessed for myself with journaling was when I actually started to read them back, and I noticed the patterns.
Yeah.
I know the patterns were so uncanny. It was like I was literally writing word for word the same
Mm,
description of my day, my feelings, what I was thinking. And that was when I realized, okay, there's something here needs to change. So that's
mm,
one thing. It does really help with you with noticing these patterns or anything that you might be stuck in, whether it's a thought, a behavior, because if sometimes and we're not quite always fully aware of what we're doing. We're just acting
mm,
automatically, but keeping a record really helped me to notice those patterns. And spiritually, it really helped me to connect with my own voice, my own
mm,
inner voice, like, to be able to hear myself. And again, releasing emotions and energy. I know that journal therapy has been, in terms of research, it's been linked to being very beneficial with things like depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even with physical health, it's helped people to improve things like their lung function.
Yeah.
There was a study done by, I can't remember who did the study, but they had a group of participants who one group was doing journaling and the other was just normal physical, I believe, medication. Um,
Yeah.
and the journaling group, their lung capacity, their lung function, like the ability for them to breathe in more, it improved just from journaling. I think that's amazing.
Mm,
So
mm,
there are so many benefits to journaling, and it goes across the board. It really is a holistic tool because if it can help with physical, even for people going through chronic conditions,
mm,
chronic pain. That really helps me too. When I was diagnosed with adenomyosis, and there was no medical information about it, there was no support, and writing about it really helped me to come to terms with it and accept that
mm,
this is my body's changed. This is I'm in a different phase, So coming to accept changes
mm.
can be really helpful for things like that. So yes, it's
Yeah.
definitely a holistic tool across
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree. And I think even from my own personal experience, something that journaling has really helped me with has been understanding my own story. Because I think a lot of the time I've quote unquote lost myself or I've forgotten who I am. And even mentioning about like what I said before about aspirational, it's allowed me to reconnect who I have been, who I am now, and who I want to become.
Yeah.
And I've been able, like what you said, Leanne, to read back and see how I've carved that pathway for myself through the art of journaling, but also bringing it into fruition through putting pen to paper or speaking it out loud into existence. It's out of my body, out of my mind, and
Mm-hmm.
out in the ether um, to then create who I want to become. So, yeah, it's definitely helped on so many different levels. So, thank you for sharing, ladies. Thank you very much. Um, So I just want to kind of explore the different types of journaling that people engage in or can engage in from your experience of working either with yourself through journaling or journal therapy or with your clients. What are the different types of creative writing and journaling activities people can engage in? So I'm going to ask Terry first to answer this one, please, lovely.
Yes. The different types of journaling that I have used myself as well as with my clients, of course, is reflective journaling, daily journaling, as well as bulleted notes or bulleted journaling,
Mm,
where it's just you kind of making a list. And sometimes that is a little bit easier, especially if you're kind of easing into journaling and not really
mm,
know kind of the path or the direction that you really want to go
mm,
with as far as art journaling and another creative writing that I utilize for myself as well as kind of my clients is more of on the little artsy side or want to try is poetry. Creating that poetry writing in the journaling aspect and gratitude journaling. So
yes.
those are the ones that I use
Mm,
myself as well as with my clients that the various types of journaling that have been kind of beneficial and prompting, yeah, the prompted journals, because sometimes even with the free writing or they may not have a day or moment where they just want to write about how their day is and they need something
mm,
that's a guided prompt to kind of
mm.
pull that out a little bit, and that's highlighted more so in the reflective journaling to also kind of build up that confidence if they're new to
Mm,
journal writing.
lovely, lovely. And it's very true. The free writing can it can be difficult if
Mhm,
you're someone that especially overthinks. I
mhm,
find that when I'm in a process or in a position of life where I'm overthinking, it can be very difficult to start that free writing. So yeah, I tend to turn to my prompts
mhm,
when I'm trying to get something out, even if it's just start writing one or two sentences, and then everything else kind of flows. And yeah, my ears pricked up when you said poetry. I was like, yep.
mhm,
Definitely, I've used journaling for poetry as well. All of a sudden, my journal entries have turned into this really elaborate poem. But it's a way of expressing. So yeah, I can definitely relate. Thank you for sharing. What about you, Leanne?
Thank you. Well, I think Terry covered a lot of it there in terms of the types of journaling. But yeah, again, reflective, just free, expressive, free writing, just allowing yourself to write freely. There was a practice by, I can't remember the author's name, so, but from a book called The Artist's Way, where called Morning Pages, where you just write 3 pages every day, every morning,
Mhm.
and without overthinking it, which can be
Mm,
hard for some people. So again, using prompts is very, very helpful. Keeping a gratitude journal.
mm,
Again, bullet journaling for lists and planning. Like journaling can be used for. There's so many different ways
yeah.
that it can be used. Our next step for me again is to go into a bit more artistic expression with the journaling. I love
Mm,
doing junk journaling, which is something I started looking into, but haven't quite picked up. So I recently started to do junk journaling, so creating my own journal and
mm,
yeah, trying to be more creative and artistic.
yeah. I love that. I love that. You've got to tell me more about that.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Um, so given the fact that obviously this show is about how we can support Black communities and how we can understand the connection of, journaling to help heal Black communities,
Mm.
um, what are some of the ways that we can start unveiling some of the subjugated stories, hidden narratives that are embedded and woven into some of the traumatic events that we've been through as a Black people? How do you think we can use journaling and journal therapy to start unpicking and unpacking some of this? Um, I'll direct this one first to Leanne.
Okay. As you well, while you were speaking, the first thing that I thought of was a movie called Freedom Writers. I don't know if anyone's
Mm,
familiar with a movie called Freedom Writers. And in that movie, I won't give a whole breakdown of it, but basically, the teacher got her class to keep journals, to
mm,
write in the journals. And what really the most profound part of that movie was when everyone began to share what they had written, and they started to notice the common threads
yeah.
within their community. They were all from different backgrounds, all different experiences, but the community they lived in was quite. They all lived in the same community, and it was the sharing of that,
Mm,
the sharing of their words that actually after they'd written it down and gotten it out on paper, and getting in a circle and sharing what they had written, it was that. So I think that group work with
mm,
our community is going to be very, very beneficial. I do believe that we all need space. We
mm,
all need space to be able to come together and just be able to share our stories, share what our experience is, our lived experience as well, in
mm,
a way where we're not going to be judged. We don't have to necessarily wear a mask and perform in order to share that story. Yeah, I think group, working within a group, because it will also allow us to identify narratives that may have been placed onto us as opposed to our
yes.
own personal narratives and the actual truth of the narratives within our communities.
Mm,
And even we will all have different narratives within each community.
yes.
Mm. So
Yes.
closing, coming together, writing, sharing our work. Yeah, it's about being brave and vulnerable as well. Yeah,
Mm,
but again, being able to create the spaces for people to be able to do that,
mm.
I think is important. Mm.
That's beautiful. That is
Yeah.
very beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Terry, anything to add?
Yes. And like Leanne said, I definitely enjoyed that movie, and that specific scene that she was talking about also brought to mind something that my mentor has always said to me. And she's a social worker, so her expertise, like I kind of talked with her about a lot of different things as well. And one of her statements that she says, and she actually has it on a shirt. It says, "A community heals when it's heard. And so just
Mm,
thinking about the Black community, where a lot of times, like Lianne stated, we don't really have those safe spaces where we're comfortable with being vulnerable. Vulnerability is also a key to healing as well. And
mhm,
before we can maybe verbalize what we're feeling and expressing, it's important to highlight it in a journal. And especially when we're doing it through group journaling or group therapy, in that aspect, when we write it down, like Lianne mentioned, we can see the connections and ties that I'm not alone in this. Because a lot of times we're not talking about it, but we feel alone about certain things that we're experiencing. We think that maybe only our family is experiencing, or only ourselves individually are experiencing these certain type of things, but there's other people that look like us within our
yeah,
community that also are dealing with or experiencing or have experienced it. And the way for us to heal together is through that connection of just sharing and being comfortable with having that safe space and opening up and talking about it. And again, a lot of times we can't really express our thoughts verbally as
mm,
well. So journaling definitely is an important way to express and
mm,
share what it is that you really want to say, but you don't really feel comfortable with saying it with your words out loud just yet. So,
yeah. See, even listening to the both of you talk is bringing me back to a saying that I've always stuck with, and it's been that blank pages never judge you. And why that's always stuck with me is because a lot of the time, there's so many statistics around Black people and therapy, and
mhm,
how we don't go to therapy as much as we should.
mhm,
So I see journaling as a free therapist that doesn't have an opinion, that is able to allow you to be as expressive and as emotive, or as as closed as you want to be sometimes as well. You might want to be limited with what you're sharing, but the phrase "blank pages never judge you" has always stuck with me since I was young, when I started journaling. And even up till this very day, I can say, yeah, it's always been my therapist. Even if I am in therapy, it's always been my free therapist that I can access at any point. It can come with me wherever I go. I don't need to book a time in. It's convenient to me.
mhm,
So yeah, and what you mentioned about the narratives, I think a lot of the time when there are different different narratives from people within the family about a certain situation that may have happened, it allows you to tease out the truths from each individual's perspectives as well. So that group aspect I think is very important, because I guess it's a form of conflict resolution as well as clarification of a
mhm.
situation. So yeah, I can I'm with you both in a nutshell. Thank you for sharing. But I think it's really important for us to discuss some fears that people have, because I was on Instagram and someone messaged me about a fear that they have had around journaling, and I was just talking them through why some of the fears that they may have, and how they may be associated to, say, boundaries being disrespected, or a lack of ability to feel safe and secure. But I want to hear from you both. What are some of the reservations or fears that you have come across why people say, "Nah, journaling's not for me"? I'll ask Leanne first. What are some of the things that you've come across?
Yeah. I think like what you mentioned there, that one of the main things about boundaries being crossed with somebody, finding your journal and then
Mm,
deciding that they're going to go ahead and actually open it and read it. So I think that can be one of the big fears, and it can come up as a block with writing, where we might begin to censor ourselves on what we're actually
mm,
writing in our books, instead of just letting it come out how it honestly is inside, the rawness of it. Um,
mm,
Sometimes we can censor ourselves. So one of the recommendations that I give is one, if somebody did find your journal and they did read it, it would probably prompt me to question the character of that person slightly as to why you've invaded my privacy like that, for
yeah.
one. So that's going to open up a whole new page for journaling in,
Yeah.
in it. But also you can use code names or even symbols. for people's
Mm-hmm.
names that only you know, just writing their initials,
Mm,
things like that. But I think that is one of the main fears of having somebody find your journal. I think as well, one of the fears that we might be unconsciously aware of is actually meeting ourselves, like
mm,
meeting ourselves. You know,
mm,
how who hear reading back, or the voice of how we actually feel being read back to us as we're reading through our journals. You know, sometimes it's very easy to lose ourselves in
mm-hmm.
our roles that we play in
Mm-hmm.
society, in the world. We have to show up, we have to put on a face, we have to present and perform in a particular way. And
Mm,
sometimes we can write, and when the realness comes out, we start to notice things. You know, we
mm,
notice that, I don't really like this job.
mm,
Actually, this relationship is not that as how I want it to be. how,
yeah.
what meeting my expectations. And so it's these things. It's the things, meeting
Mm,
ourselves, things coming up that we might not necessarily be ready to address. But
mm.
again, I say if they come up, things usually only come up to the surface when they are ready for
Meant to.
healing, to be addressed and healed and integrated.
Mhm.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. Um, Terry, anything to add to that? Because yeah, Leanne, you covered quite a lot, but I still feel that there's so much that can be discussed with this. So yeah, Terry, come throw something at me.
I would say, well, I kind of provide a solution. Definitely, that is definitely the number one fear. A lot of times that their fear that someone can see or pick it up and read it. The solution to that, of course, you can hide it in a sacred space, or you can also burn or shred the pages.
Yes.
That's the solution. Like whatever you write down, and I definitely like the symbols and using initials or code
Mm,
names. That's a great way if you plan on keeping your journals,
mm,
to put that out there as well. Because a lot of times I know I talk with my clients and I call them like the reset pages. These pages are when you're being your truest self,
mm,
in that space, and writing down what's really going on and how you really feel about a particular situation, event, how you're feeling about yourself at that moment. But what I've also uncovered with my clients, and Leanne kind of touched on that, is the fear of the someone reading the journal was
mm,
really them. They were talking about themselves. Because a lot of my
mm,
clients live at home or live by themselves. So, and if they have children, their children are young, and so they're really the only adult that's writing. And so I'm like, are you afraid of what you actually really want to say and how you really feel, because you never really said it out loud? And
yeah.
so when you put it on that piece of paper, then it's real. Like that's the
Mm,
reality of how you actually feel and what you're actually going through. But the thing is, when I encourage them to still and try to write, incorporating and trying to release in journal, is because the beautiful experience is once you write it and put it out, is you have that clear, honest view of your authentic self. And a lot of times we still want to mask behind
mm,
what we want others to view us as, even though we don't really view ourselves that way. And so we keep it buried. And by writing it out and
mm,
putting it out there, it's like now I can see how I really feel. Like Leanne stated, if I really don't like this job, if I really don't like this space or relationship that I'm in, or even if there are moments in parenting, because
Mm.
let's be honest, parenting is beautiful, but then there are times that it is really hard. And so with that aspect, it's like
mm,
if I say this out loud, then am I a bad person for putting this out there? But now we can uncover, reveal, and get to the truth, our truest self, to heal. So
That was
mm. It's true. It's true. And I think a lot of the time people some of the discouragement that they've had to express and explore themselves, because I can even think of myself as a younger version of me that I would want to, but I wouldn't know where to start. So I guess some of the fears or reservations was my lack of direction. Hence why I
Mhm.
started using journal prompts. And
Mhm.
how much is enough to write? Or how do I begin writing? All these kind of things started coming up for me when I was thinking about when you was talking. And I guess the other aspect of it is, okay, now I've released all of this and all of this has come up for me. What next? And I guess that
Mhm.
next step after the unpacking is the fear of the action, I guess.
Mhm.
the,
Mhm.
the the integration, as Leanne said, that okay, how do I move on past this next step? And I guess do you have any tips and advice for anyone that's watching that may need some support with the integration after everything has come up and they've got it all out off their chest? What's the next step that they can take with their healing process? And I'm going to ask either one of you, whoever wants to take this one.
Um, yeah, I can go. Is that okay? I think it really, in terms of next step, it really depends on what's come up in your writing
Mm,
as to where you're going to take that next step. Sometimes that next step can actually lead to therapy.
Mhm.
It can lead to you
mm,
seeking out an actual person to go and relay this information to you, to help you, to support you in integrating what has come up.
mm,
Um, Goal setting,
Mhm.
or looking into our values of what has come up. So again, we
mm,
can then start to use our journal in a way where we can actually begin to plan
mm,
and list out the steps, the action steps that we want to take, or even things that we might want to eliminate from
mm,
our habits, for example, or behavior.
mm.
And yeah, I think I'll pass over to you, Terry. That's okay.
Well, I was just gonna kind of start and state, like you said, depending on where you are,
Mm,
or what's kind of highlighted within how your journaling process. Of course, definitely therapy, encourage that, or even support groups.
yeah.
Mhm,
Any type of space where you can either talk to a professional, someone that you truly trust,
mm,
where you want to unpack a little bit more. But like she kind of mentioned, goal setting to see like, okay, this is where I am now, and that's, let's try to, what can I do to get to the next step, and kind of listing it out.
Mhm.
But yeah, therapy is definitely that starting point, or even looking for an accountability partner as well,
mm.
because we have to hold ourselves accountable as well as looking at the things that's listed, and so it's out there. So all right, now I have to be accountable to do the work, or am I
Yes,
ready to do the work?
yes, yes, it's true. And you know what? I think something also to highlight is journaling may not be for everyone.
Mhm.
And it depends on what stage of life you are at and where you are in your own healing process, whether journaling is even right and applicable for you. You may be at a point of such distress that
Mhm.
bringing everything up is not the right move for you.
Right.
And like you said, going to seek that professional help that are able to get you to a point of balance and stability to then integrate a form of reflective practice at a later point in your healing journey may
Mhm.
be a better option. But yeah, at least exploring if it is an option for you, I would always definitely say do that with some form of support. So yeah, I appreciate that, Terry. Um, so we've spoken a lot about how journaling can help individuals. We've spoken about how it can help communities and even families. But some something that I might want to explore is how we can bring journaling into the workplace. And the reason why I say this is because I've recently been going on some think tank workshops with my organization, and we have been incorporating reflective journal prompts from what we've learned during the session, um, and how we can apply the learnings in our workplace outside of those think tank sessions. So, how do you think journaling can support workplaces? So, I'm going to ask you first, Leanne.
Um, I think again is it can be supported. It could be supported again with our mental, emotional. and holistic health in general. But it's
Mm,
supportive in terms of being able to express again what we might be experiencing or what we might be witnessing at work, things that might be coming up for us,
mm,
and having that time and that space to do that. I think that is a brilliant thing to have at work.
mm,
Mental health within the workplace is definitely something that is very important to me from my own personal experiences of how work has affected my mental health.
yeah.
So I'm all in support for that. I would definitely recommend like group practices, maybe being
Mm,
able to have a space after work or during
Mhm.
the lunchtime break, depending on how the days are broken down, to meet as a group, doing
mm,
having a like grounded practice, and then a space to do that, the writing and journaling, and then sharing. If people want to share, sometimes not everybody wants to share. Sometimes it's
yeah.
just a case of like holding space and bearing witness to other people, you know.
Right.
But
Mm,
still, we have that connection. I think as
mm,
well, again, building bonds,
Mhm.
supporting building bonds, connections,
mm,
understanding people as well, how we work. So,
yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Terry, what's your thoughts on journaling in the workplace?
I definitely think that it's needed. It's important. Kind of what Leanne mentioned about when you think about, especially doing it as a group or team building type of exercise, it
mm,
encourages the engagement within that group, within that team, as well as promoting collaboration.
Yeah.
Because there's some that maybe want to share a little bit more than others, but then even with creating that safe space of feeling that connectedness,
Mm,
establishing and building or strengthening relationships. Because a lot of times when we're talking, it's about work, emails
mm,
or meetings or whatnot. So allowing them to have that space that this is the mindfulness group time where we're journaling or whatnot, that's bringing this kind of that holistic approach in the workplace, creating that culture that it's we're not, while we're here, the goal is to work, of course,
yeah.
we also are looking at you, the whole person, to make sure that
Mm,
you are getting everything that you need. And even if there's moments when you're dealing with things, because we have a life outside of work,
mm,
that we can kind of come together without intruding too much of what's going on, but knowing that we can pick each other up and build each other up. I think
mm,
that's definitely important because it highlights and shows that the culture or the culture of the workplace is providing empathy, as
mm,
well as looking at that person instead of just looking at them as an employee, but
yeah.
also making sure that they are where they need to be mentally, physically, emotionally, even spiritually.
Mm,
And so by having that understanding, having that relationship, or utilizing that tool for the
mm,
engagement, for to promote collaboration, that also probably lower chances of turnovers, because people will be more productive and
yeah.
willing to work because they feel like you're looking at them as a person, an individual, and not just an employee of what you can do for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a great thing to incorporate and to build that community and culture within the workplace.
Yes. Yes. The word culture rings for me, and it makes me think of there's an organization that creates emotional culture decks,
Mhm.
and they actually provide some journal prompts for senior management, middle management, and employees to have this space to do these workshops around building the right emotional culture, or even
Mhm.
understanding the current culture
Mhm.
of the organization. So looking at the headwind and tailwind behaviors and emotions permeating through the organization.
Yeah.
And if it's found that employees of whatever level feel that it's quite toxic, then you're able to then hash out an action plan on how you want to, I guess, flip it on its head, and what the expectations of both your staff, your management, and your senior leadership team may bring into the mix. So yeah, I yeah, I'm just all for it. I'm all for it. Um, but I guess as we wrap up, we've spoken quite a lot about, you know, how to journal, but for some people, I know for me, it's not always been something that I do every day. Sometimes I pick up my journal as and when I need it. I might feel, a bit upset about something, or someone might have rubbed me up the wrong way, and I'm like, I just need to journal about it and I'll be okay. But how do we support a sustainable journaling practice, um, so that way, we're able to release more frequently rather than at those impactful and emotional times?
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask you first, Terry.
Okay.
How can we create a sustainable journaling practice?
I would say first, definitely my word, as I love to use, is be intentional. To create this sustainable journal, you have to first make the decision of what type of journal that is
Mm,
going to be. Even if it's a bulleted listed journal, or if you're going to focus specifically on guided prompts, I think it's important to just kind of lay that out first.
mm,
And once you made that decision about what type of journal that you want to focus on or utilize, figure out the materials, what you need, figure out what it is that you need to have it there. Make your first entry of the day, and be set a time limit. If you just want to write for 10 minutes a day or 5 minutes, and of course it can change,
mm,
but just try to create that sustainable space, as well as to a lot of time, whether it's better for you to do it morning and
mm,
or at night, or both,
mhm,
whichever works for you. Try to kind of lay it out in the beginning, as well as don't try to do too much, because less is more. Sometimes we want to become overwhelmed, like, oh, I can do this, or comparing ourselves to other people. And social media definitely
yep.
highlights on that as well. But it's important that you just focus on and be intentional about what it is that you want to do and how you want to start. A lot of people that even say, and I know I'm kind of jumping around, but a lot of people that say that they kind of have an issue with journaling. But when
Mm,
you see them on social media, I'm like, yeah, that could have been a journal entry. But hey, if it's
yes.
what you feel like that you wanted to release it and put it out there, it's your business. Go right ahead. I'm like, you could have put that in a journal though.
Yeah.
But now you're mad that everyone else is paying attention, or commenting on what you put, but
Yep.
it's kind of public. So to kind of rule that out, just take that what you wanted to say on social media and put it in that journal. That could be your
Yes.
first entry, and there you go. That's your start. Um,
Just to highlight as well, this is what I say, my phrase, blank pages never judge you. If you put it out in public, you're going to get judged. Just,
exactly. And they're going to provide their input, even if you
mhm.
don't want it.
But yeah, carry on.
But then just also embrace the mistakes,
Mm,
misspelling. It does not have to be a dissertation. It does not have to be a perfect essay. No one is going to grade this. So
mm,
just know that this is for you and by you,
mm,
and that you can be comfortable with putting what you need out there, but just first make that decision for it to be a sustainable journal. Don't think too much into it, because I know I'm an overthinker as well. I can get myself overwhelmed, but let's decide on what type of journal. Let's
mhm,
be intentional, figure out the materials that you need, and less is more. So
mm.
that's kind of the tips that I have.
Amazing tips. Viewers, I hope you are taking notes, paying attention, and you're going to get some more from Leanne right now. So, Leanne, what would you suggest as tips for supporting for someone to support themselves with a sustainable journaling practice?
Well, I do think Terry covered the major tips. To be honest, everything that she said is everything that I would have said. Definitely be intentional. Keyword intentional there.
Mm,
Knowing what you want to write again. What type of journal you want to keep. Having a devoted time and space,
mm,
creating space. I am all about creating the right space.
Yes.
I would always encourage people, create that space, put your candles there, your incense, have your music,
yes.
have your cup of tea or your glass of wine if that's what you want, whatever it is, but whatever's going to make you feel comfortable. I think that's really important, to feel comfortable while you're writing, if you can.
Mm,
Yeah, so yeah, intentionality, devoted time and space, knowing what it is that you want to write, what type of journal it is that you want to keep. Invest in your journal. I'm always going to be somebody who will encourage you to go and buy a new notebook and invest in
Yes.
your notebook, because it does become like a companion. Eventually,
Yes.
the more you write, the more you keep it. Even like you were saying, Rhyana, to the point where you just keep it, have it with you, and pull it out when you need to. So you may have this practice, but then you might progress on to, okay, yeah, this is a time where I need to pull my journal out and do some writing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Honestly, my journal comes with me even if I'm going to work. Honestly, because you never know. Like some, you may need to express in a way that you can't verbally articulate,
Yeah.
and you may not have that trusted person to
Mhm.
turn to or to pick up the phone to at that very moment. So yeah, it's literally my best friend.
Yes.
Oh, this has been such an amazing conversation, ladies. And I guess my only other tips would be no, I think you've actually covered everything, to be honest. The only thing I would say is when selecting a journal, make sure that you are attracted to it. And what I mean by that is make it purchase a journal that makes you drawn to picking it up.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going to look like every other book on your shelf.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's just going to blend in.
Mm-hmm.
So, my journal, I've actually got it here. It's bright pink, yeah,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
and
lovely.
Like
it's
that.
textured. It's got
Yep.
gold in it. It's yeah. To me, it's so attractive, and I'm drawn to it. So select a journal that, and don't take, like Terry said, don't spend too much time looking and trying to decide what type of journal it is, but spend a bit of time, because that's gonna be, like Leanne said, your companion, your
Yep.
go-to, your confidant, your best friend,
Mm-hmm.
if you allow it to be. So that would be my only tip: is allow yourself permission to explore yourself um, at any point of the day. I find that I journal at nighttime when everyone's sleeping, because that's my safe space, my safe time, my sacred time.
Mm-hmm.
Or a journal in the bath, because I know that I can lock that door, have my candles burning, have my music going, and no one's going to disturb me. So those are my couple of tips there to add. But yes, this has been such a beautiful conversation, ladies. So as we round off, I'm gonna ask you both, what is coming up for you that people need to be aware of? What projects are coming up? And where can people find you on social media should they want to connect, especially about journaling or journal therapy, or grab any of the journals that you have? I'm gonna ask you first, Terry.
Okay. On social media, you can find me on Facebook under my business page, the Know to Thrive Collaborative Coaching and Consulting, as well as Instagram. It's the Know to Thrive Collaborative. A couple of projects that I'm working on now are coming up. I'm currently writing or finishing my book, and the companion workbook, or it's a more so a journal, and it's nurturing self. And so this is to kind of build on to nurturing ourselves, because a lot of times we nurture other people, we can be there and support others, that we neglect ourselves. And so
Mhm.
it's important that we have to kind of unpack a little of the things that we're dealing with and working on in order to kind of move to that next step. We kind of are the block of where we can move to our next journey and next path. And then I'm also just, I guess, introduced or implemented a new parenting education class that I'm working on. And it is the determined parent. It's kind of a nurturing parenting aspect, but it's to, again, make sure that us as parents are working on us and unpacking a lot of different layers that we're experiencing and dealing with: the wounded parent, the healing,
Yes.
the parents that is trying to like reparent some things that we may have had
Mm.
issues with as growing up as inner child, and how playing that part in our trauma, if it's unhealed, it
Mm.
plays a part in our parenting styles and how we parent our children. And so, yeah, my aspect and focus right now for this year and well, really the past couple of years is nurturing self so that
Mm.
we can make sure that we're our best selves and we can be the best selves for ourselves first, as well
Mm.
as for our loved ones and other people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis.
Amazing. That's so dope. And Terry, I'm going to ask you, where can people find your journals?
My journals are on Amazon. You can just pull them up by my name, Terri Floyd, as well as type in the name. I do have a couple of journals that are already out there on Amazon. The Note to Self, which is a 30-day self-discovery journal, as well as the Reset. It is a mindset motivation journal that is 21 days, and it highlights to just kind of have that moment to reset, and it incorporates meditation as well. So on Amazon.
Super dope. Super, super dope. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
Lianne, lovely. What do you have coming up? Where can people find you? Come on, give us
Um,
the juice.
yes, well, you can find me on Facebook under my name, Lianne Crawford. On Instagram, you can find me at the Spirit Journal, and you can find me at Lee High Pre. My Spirit Journal page has been quite quiet recently. It will be active again soon, but I'm more on my
Hmm.
personal page at the moment, Lee High Pre. My website is www.lee-high-pre.com, and you can find everything you can find on there. In terms of projects, I'm really excited about the next project that I'm about to embark on. So I'm going to be creating and cultivating and holding these spaces for us as a collective, as a community. I'm going to be holding spaces for people to share their stories,
Mm.
as a collective. But I also, while I was doing my training in circle facilitating, because I wanted to be able to make sure that I hold these spaces that are trauma informed and
Mm.
intentionally safe, because I have been to groups and circles and things that have not been and left with more wounds than I attended in the first place. So I want
Mm.
to make sure that these spaces are intentionally safe for our well-being, but we'll be sharing our stories, doing journaling, meditating, coming together, particularly wanting to create spaces for Black and Indigenous people of color, Black and Indigenous women of color,
Mm.
specifically as well for those of us who are part of the diaspora and who really want to reconnect with our ancestry, our lineages, reconnect with our spiritual practice and traditional practices. Because I find over here in Britain, it can be a bit harder for us to link back in, especially if we don't have any
Yeah.
elders or any type of connection back there. So many of us that just don't have that. So I want to create
Mm.
spaces um, for us collectively to meet together and also challenge some of these narratives as well that we were mentioning before, for the community and things like
Yes.
that. So yes.
It sounds so exciting. Oh my gosh, it sounds so exciting. I'm excited to see, hear, be part of anything that you guys are coming up with. So make sure, viewers, you follow Terry and Lianne. Make sure you reach out if you need some help or support or even just a journal prompt. I'm sure they'll be happy to provide you with a one-liner. Start here. But as the word intention has been prevailing, it's about the intention to practice. It doesn't matter how often you practice, it's about the intention to practice. So, yeah, thank you both so much for your insight. Um,
Oh,
it's been a beautiful, beautiful session once again. So, family, Black Mental Health Matters. We will make sure that we tag everyone on this show. Share, like, comment, subscribe, share with friends that you may think would benefit from this conversation. And yeah, have a beautiful and blessed day. Take care, everyone.